broadcast network, AFTERBUZZ TV. Over 20 million weekly downloads from over 200 countries and your #1 source in after-show entertainment. AFTERBUZZ TV, the destination for TV superfans. Producing aftershows for over 300 of your favorite TV shows. Interviewing celebrities and showrunners. And bringing you behind-the-scenes exclusives. All thanks to E! Entertainment's Maria Menounos, producer Kevin Undergaro, and internet leader Akamai. Now, let the buzz begin!
I love that song. Hey, what's up, guys? Welcome to AFTERBUZZ TV. Shandy's just going to continue dancing over there. We are talking tonight about, it's the season 1 of Game of Crowns. We're almost done. This is the second to last episode. It's called Legends of the Crown. I am your host, Susie Castillo, and with me this evening, my co-host, Shandi Finnessey, the one and only.
And I have to say, we chose that song, Karate Kid, because it kind of started off like a boxing match on this episode. And the girls are all gearing up for the Legends of the Crown pageant. And we even saw Leha actually boxing, preparing for it.
We did, much like Ralph Macchio in The Karate Kid, for those of you who remember and are our age.
Not quite so much like, but more Rocky-esque. But it really is coming down to like the final boxing match where all the girls, the legends, are competing for who is the queen legend bee.
I wonder if that's a real pageant. Legends of the Crown.
I don't know.
And if it is, why weren't we invited? We're legends. Miss USA 2003, Miss USA 2004. I mean, come on.
Amen, sister. Well,
just kidding. I would never compete.
Well, these girls are really excited about competing, but more importantly, Vanassa has a goal to win this. It's almost like she will stop at nothing. She really, really wants this title.
She's in it to win it. And
her most important thing is she really wants to beat Mrs. America. She wants that status.
She does.
And that victory over her.
But she competed at Mrs. America and didn't win. But she's out to get
her next chance.
It is.
I want to try it one more time.
You think so?
I do think so.
I thought she and Shelley were friends, and now she's like, I just want to beat Shelley. I want to beat Shelley, which I was like, oh god, does Shelley know that? That she's like gunning for her?
Yeah, which she does now.
Right?
But, so Vanassa, the whole thing with her competing, there's some conflicts of interest.
Big conflict of interest, I think.
Her husband.
Right.
Tell me.
He's the co-owner of Foxwoods, which is where the pageant is taking place. I don't know. I feel like most pageants, that would be a huge conflict of interest. You wouldn't be allowed to
because those people who are not experienced in the pageant world, there are a lot of guidelines to make sure that it is legit and there's no conflicts of interest.
So
even if you're a judge and you somehow know one of the girls, whether you've judged her before in a pageant or maybe even you're friends with her or even just acquaintances, you have to let the directors know, and then they decide whether or not you can sit on the panel. And if you do, they usually have you sign something saying that how you know them, what the relationship is, and that you agree to still be fair in the judging process.
Because we were actually asked as partners and co-founders of Pageantology, we train a lot of girls all over the United States, and we were asked to judge a state pageant, one of the state pageants recently, and we had to turn it down because there's a good chance that we're going to be training some of those girls. So we actually, we cannot, as pageant coaches, also judge girls that we know, because that means we know the girls that we trained, obviously, but the ones that we haven't, it's kind of unfair. So we're not allowed to do it. There's got to be or maybe not. That's what makes me question whether or not I'm like, is this a real pageant or what? What's going on? So
was the Mrs. in New England a real pageant?
Who knows? But the other red flag was that the pageant director was in Vanassa's suite.
Room. More so than that. So Vanassa invites the other ladies back to her room for hors d'oeuvres. And the first thing goes through my head is, they're poisoned. Like
Don't eat the hors d'oeuvres, girls.
She wants to win so badly, as we saw her say, and now she's like, "Oh, I have some edibles in my room. Like, come up and eat them." And I was like, "It's the poisoned apple. I'm going to go into a deep sleep. I'm going to need some handsome prince to kiss me."
It's hilarious.
I was like, "I don't eat." And then it was funny because Lorianne, instead of meat on a stick, calls it stick in a meat, and I was like, that makes it sound incredibly unappetizing. But so then the big controversy happens of Lynne deciding, or first of all, Lynne not showing up to the rehearsals because she said that for health reasons, she didn't want to show up. And I have to say that we actually, Susie and I, as co-hosts of the show and also owners of Pageantology, reached out to Lynne to be a guest on our show tonight. And we have not yet received a response, but that we are hoping to, so she may be on next week.
I hope so.
So she ended up dropping out of rehearsals, didn't show up, so had to learn this crazy dance via some online videotaping that someone had done.
Susanna brought it to her.
Yes.
Yeah.
And then on the other hand, Leha decides she doesn't want to compete.
Right. Last minute decision on Leah's part. I think she should have gone for it still. I don't know why ultimately. And Leha actually reached out to us via Facebook to say hello, and she watches the after show here on AfterBuzz. So I invited her to be on the show too. So hopefully next week we'll have both Leha and Lynne, which is those two.
So,
I feel like there's a big team Leha, team Lynne.
There is.
Obviously Susanna is on,
We should make shirts for next week.
We should. Which team would you be on?
Well, here's my thing. So I've always been Team Leha. I've always just been in her corner. However, I had a problem on tonight's episode because if she didn't want to compete because of the restraining order, and she didn't want to put herself out there, why go to the pageant? Because I'm betting those seats, that was a small theater, you are not 100 feet from Lynne. So I think that's a little bit of, I think you're contradicting yourself slightly of, I don't want to compete because I don't want to be near her, but yet I'm going to show up and be near her. So I think that maybe she didn't compete for other reasons. But I want these girls not only to just answer some questions, but I also want them to let us know their thoughts on what they've seen, because as we heard from Austin Ride, our first guest on this show, who was actually, he was on the show himself. He's a makeup artist. He knows these girls personally.
He did their makeup for Game of Crowns.
And he's a huge fan of Lynne, and said that she just sort of got a bad edit, a bad rap. So Lynne, I want to hear your story, your side of the story, what your thoughts are, how you think you were portrayed.
Yeah. I'm super confused too, because for a while, up until last week's episode, I was Team Leha as well. But then, you know, this whole restraining order is kind of bizarre to me. I'm like, I feel like it's coming, not that it's coming out of nowhere, right? But I don't know if it was warranted, you know? I don't think that she had to take it that far. And she could have just, I think she could have just competed still for, you know, Legends of the Crown and just gone with it, you know? She didn't have to go that far.
Totally agree.
I feel like it's being blown out of proportion even more than it already was.
Well, and especially being blown out of proportion. So Lynne, she is quoted saying, "It's impossible to compete with the restraining order looming over my head."
Yes.
And probably, I mean, I can imagine. However, you're giving power to it by constantly reminding yourself, oh, there she is in the audience. And
she's exhausted and her husband's taking her blood pressure. It's like, honey, if you have high blood pressure and you're like physically ill, stay home.
Yeah.
No pageant, no sparkly crown is worth your health for sure. And I mean, she made a reference to that she felt like she was an engine running on one cylinder, and that, you know, that Leah's trying to destroy her life. And it's like, wow, you have all this like on your shoulders and you still want to go compete at a pageant. I don't understand that either. I have so many questions for both of these women. I hope that they're both, I hope they both join us next week.
I feel like it's just, you know, that drive to win, the drive for the crown and stop at nothing.
Yeah.
Well, so then we get into the actual pageant itself, and we first see the interview portion.
Yes.
So, first of all, I want to say that I really liked Shelley's styling. Like I have been, I know that every week you guys are probably like, stop it, we get it, we love Shelley.
For good reason, people, for good reason.
I mean,
she's awesome.
She rises above it, she laughs at herself, but what I love most about Shelley is that she just has like an effortless elegance about her.
Yeah.
And I think that there is no cosmetic surgery in the world that can replace elegance.
And authenticity.
And
she's so
her
authentic.
dress was just pretty in the interview room. It was a pretty color. It was beautiful, but it was something that you could wear to a cocktail dress, to an early evening event. I'm not a huge fan of like heavy rhinestones and beading in the interview room.
I was going to ask you about that because some girls we saw had a lot of sparkly going on. It seemed like it was more appropriate to me for stage. But then again, we're at a pageant. So I always say
when
it's
in
like,
Rome.
right? I always say when in Rome. It's like, when else can you wear a sparkly cocktail dress? It's like a pageant would be good. But at the same time, we always tell girls, the girls that we train, you don't want to look like you're going to a club when you're going in for interview.
Yeah. Well,
Most
and also,
likely
what
interview is during the day. And that's why I think I going into Legends of the Crown, the pageant, I knew Shelley was the one to beat, but I think she totally proved it by showing up looking the way she did, by behaving as classy as she did. I just thought she was perfection.
Well, another thing about interview that in pageantology that Susie and I run, that we coach the girls on, is remember each phase of competition. Interview is just that. You are being scored and judged on what you are saying and who you are and your fact sheet and things inside. So if you come in this very distracting outfit, I remember the year that I competed at Miss USA, another state girl wore a suit that had like graffiti kind of spray painted on it, and it was saying like crazy, psycho, like all these what could be deemed as negative terms. And I'm thinking, you're so distracting in what you're wearing that the judges aren't really going to hear what you're saying. They're going to be looking at these words and reading them, and kind of negative words.
Right.
We also say like girls who wear bangles, that's not necessarily the best thing, because you're going to hear all these jingling on their outfit. So I just think that Shelley really did it up right. You still saw her in the dress, but it was the most elegant version.
Right. Yeah. If you want to, I think her dress was perfect. It was a perfect length. It was just classy. The lace, the royal blue lace, was just really elegant and beautiful and age appropriate, right? Because these women, they're older pageant girls, so I thought it was very appropriate.
Although we're older than Lorianne. I just want to put it out there.
Lorianne, by the way, I made a little note. Lorianne, my dear, she was kind of hunching over. If there is a chair during interview and you have to sit down, just arch your back a little bit, you know what I mean? And put your hands gently on your lap, use them to speak, but
that being said,
hunched
also,
over.
She definitely was.
Yeah.
And two things on that. Yes, stand up and slightly arch your back. However, the pageant patty one that they referred to.
That's right. Yeah.
She was almost too much. So you have to still do it in a natural way.
Yeah.
That looks comfortable, but you're not overly. But the whole leaning over Lorianne, the one thing that I did like was Shelley. She sat up, but when someone would ask her a question, she would lean into it.
It was very natural.
And lean over.
She was so natural.
Very natural.
Yeah.
Another thing, though, that we do talk about in pageantology. And Lorianne, unfortunately, I love your personality, and I know you were so passionate to talk about the story in Ireland with your grandfather, but there was a lot of rambling, and it could have also been the way they edited, of course, but it looked and it appeared to us as though you only got one question out. And
One answer.
Yeah. And unfortunately, this is the time for the judges to get to know you. So if they only ask you one question, all they learned about you was that you went and visited your grandfather's home and it may be haunted because you heard footsteps. That's all they're learning about you. So you want to answer it, but be concise so they can ask you other questions so they learn more about you, and it's just more interesting and more well-rounded.
Yeah. So let's move on to swimsuit.
Actually, before we go to swimsuit, opening number. So they come out opening number.
I have nothing good to say about
Opening number was
number.
a hot mess. My biggest pet peeve with pageants is, well, actually, I guess I have quite a few, but one is either these moves in pageants when they come out like the very pageant-y ones. But this one, they were breaking it down. And I'm sorry, these are women in their 30s and 40s. They're in cocktail dresses.
Lorianne's the young one.
But it was just way too much moving, and it was way too much of a choreographed dance to have one day to prepare it.
Sure.
Give them 2 weeks if it's going to be that many.
And there were such few girls, too. When there's a lot of girls, they always, they'll put the bad ones, the ones that can't really do the choreography, in the back, and the good ones are in the front. And it looks good. When there are that few women in a pageant doing an opening number, I feel like you have to keep it simple. Otherwise, it kind of looks a
Absolutely.
little messy.
It looks very messy. And actually, speaking of how you said the bad ones are sometimes in the back, I loved Shelley's quotes.
Oh, yeah.
Two that she said. She's like, I don't dance. And then she's
Yeah.
like, well, I can't dance.
Yeah.
Just very honest. And then later on, after this like, crazy intense dance, she says, as you're leading up to it, she says, I can't even hokey pokey because that involves turning yourself around. I'm like, Shelley, you are
funny.
like, I
By
just
the
want to
way-
be friends with Shelley. I want to go get a glass of wine with Shelley.
I can't dance either. Every pageant that I competed in, when I competed at Miss Teen USA, at Miss USA, and at Miss Universe, I was one of those girls sitting, like
Really?
standing in the back. Oh yeah. The only thing I was allowed to do this. This was me
You're
at Teen
kidding
USA.
me.
I just did this.
Girl, I was front and center.
Were
Like,
you?
I'm going to make myself learn this dance.
I've never, Shandi, I tried out for the cheerleading squad in high school.
Really?
I could not keep up with the choreography.
You are so
I just
cute.
can't do it. It's
I've
funny.
never been to a club with you and seen you dance.
Really? Oh, I can dance.
I mean, I think I've seen you
I can
bob your
freestyle.
head. I think you're one of those like white girls who just bobs her head.
Listen, I don't know about that, but
I don't know. We might
We'll
have to have a
have to go.
dance off.
a dance. As long as there's no choreography, I'm cool.
I will say this:
It's
I
the
can
choreography part.
robot like a mofo, and
Show them, Shandi.
I can
Don't tease the kids like that. The viewers.
and I can also moonwalk like
That I've
Michael
seen.
Jackson. I
That
know.
I've seen.
It's amazing.
She's actually pretty good, you guys.
I actually learned on Dancing with the Stars.
That's
How to moonwalk. That's the only thing I took away from that show.
awesome.
Yeah.
So
So,
let's
moving
move on
on
to
swimsuit.
I'll tell you who my favorite was.
Shelley.
Shelley. Classy.
Why don't
It
we
was
just rename
black.
this the Shelley Show?
Let's just crown Shelley already.
Good Lord.
She's gonna win this thing. If
Well-
she doesn't win, per Shandi, this is what Shandi always says whenever we train a girl who's like awesome. She'll say, "I will eat
My pencil.
my pencil." If
But
she
I will
doesn't-
say this, I only say it like very rarely. And it's girls who I'm like, I guarantee you're going to win Miss Teen USA.
Shelley is that girl.
And we've had 2 Miss Teen USAs that we have trained all the way to win the national title through pageantology. And the first Miss Teen USA, I said, I'm telling you right now, I will eat this pencil if you do not win. And I do not say this. And she was like, oh, that's so
right.
sweet. And I'm like, I'm telling you right now. But,
And
you know,
her director, the Miss California director, Pam wrote us an email. She was like, Shandi, I'm glad you don't have to eat your pencil.
yeah. I was like,
She
I
won.
am too, actually.
But Shelley is
think
one of
lead
those
is on my
girls. I think
diet.
Shelley's going to take the whole thing. Of
Well,
course,
here's
we don't
why
get to see
I liked
till
her in swimsuit
next
is that
week.
I don't believe it matters really what you wear in swimsuit in terms of one piece, two pieces, in a pageant like this especially. What matters most to me rather than the style is that it really shows your personality and your body, so your best parts of your body.
Right.
I think Shelley did a great example of that because she has this elegant, graceful nature to her, and the dress was that. Yes, Lorianne has a rockin' body.
She does.
And
I love Lorianne's
So she
red.
looked great in that, yes.
Yeah, with the crystal embellishments, I think for stage, awesome.
But what I didn't like was when it got distracting with both Lynne and Susanna with the sarongs. Susanna had it over her shoulder. It looked gorgeous, but as a
Susanna had
judge,
an Indian thing going,
She
and
had
I was
Indian
like,
theme.
is she Indian?
I
don't
think she
she's-
carried it over from the wedding because she wore, I think, that
She had the
same sarong
head.
and the headpiece at the wedding. I think it was the same.
Okay.
But I will say that
People know.
Susie and I have judged many, many state pageants, national pageants, Miss USA, Miss Universe. And if a girl is covering something up that's just like, what is that? It makes me think, what you got going on underneath that?
she's hiding something.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So that was, it was a little distracting for me. And then Lynn, the sarong reveal at times, like it was tied around her waist, but then she'd be like, ha, look.
I know, and
I
I
have
don't
a
know if
bikini
she.
bottom on, closing it up now.
Yeah, did she do that once,
Back
or
out
did
twice.
they show it over and over again, like the
No,
same?
She did in 2 different spots on the stage.
Oh, she did. Yeah, it was kind of, that was a little odd. Either take it off and walk with it in your hand, which they often do in pageants, or leave it on. Don't
Mm-hmm.
touch it, you know, because it was weird. It was almost like she was flashing
Yeah.
the judges or something.
Yeah,
Which
on a
was-
part that we don't want the judges to look
Yeah.
at when we're on stage. Your
We-
cucini,
the cucini
can
does not need to
stay-
be flashed.
stay in the box.
That's
well,
right.
and that actually brings up another point is that when we train girls in pageants, and girls have sarongs, they're like, what do I do with it? And some are like whipping around like Zorro.
Yeah.
And again, that's going to distract from you. So it's better to just sort of leave it at your side, be just elegant with it, let it trail behind you or just sort of get caught in the wind behind you.
Yes.
But when you are like choreographed with the sarong, then it just gets a little distracting.
It's too much. Yeah, the sarong needs to. You got to be very careful. By the way, guys, want to remind you, if you are on iTunes, make sure you tell a friend, comment, like us, all that good stuff.
Yes, and ask whatever you guys want to talk about. Like, we want to hear your thoughts on this, and
yeah,
and whose side you're on, if it's Lynne or Leha.
I know. So let's move on. Evening gown.
So I thought there was just a lot going on. We had ruffles and rhinestones and colors and
a lot of sparkles going on.
Simplicity, I think, is best because you want to just see, especially for a mature woman, like you're not competing for Miss Teen USA.
Yeah.
Simplicity, I think, is best, and it really makes the girl stand out. You see the girl in the dress, not the dress the girl is wearing.
Absolutely. And once again, I think the winner of evening gown was Shelley. She did such a good job. You know what I loved about Shelley? She kind of had a theme throughout the entire pageant. She didn't wear black to interview, but she wore a black swimsuit, she wore a black evening gown, and what I loved most about her evening gown is that it was so simple. Bravo, Shelley. She had that beautiful slit and the low back.
She had a gorgeous back. I was like,
she's got an amazing body for a mother of what, 3?
So let's digress slightly. For swimsuit, she was like, this isn't my favorite. I really don't have the best. I'm like,
she looked great. She killed it.
She came out and I'm like, you look amazing.
Yeah,
actually.
She was super. It was age appropriate, elegant, and I love that she kept the same color because she actually looks really good in black. But one of my favorite things about her evening gown were the sparkles up top. I think it brought attention up to her face where the other girls, some of the other girls that had sparkles all over,
and
it was
ruffles,
just too much.
Like Vanassa, and I've been a fan of Vanassa for a while. I just felt like there was all that ruffles on the bottom.
And I actually love the taupey color.
The taupey color was great, but there was just too much because she's got the big hair, she's got the big rack, and now she has like the big fluffs on the bottom and then rhinestones on the top. It was just a lot going on.
It was a lot.
I did like how the girls were escorted by their husbands. I just think that's like a sweet way to also to make them feel very comfortable on stage.
Super sweet, but once again, way to stand out Shelley.
Right?
By bringing out her mom.
But I do have to say,
high five,
if she would have brought her mom out and it wasn't her mom's birthday, I would have been like, really? Like...
But her mother was her inspiration. Remember, she was going
said
through
that
a hard
to us.
time.
I don't know if the judges knew that.
Oh, yeah, maybe the judges didn't know that.
But the fact that they said it is her mother's birthday on stage, I was like, that is so sweet. As a judge, I would have really liked that.
As a judge, she won the pageant.
And again,
in there.
the way that she carried herself on stage, it was so elegant. And like I said, I
love how she brushed her shit. Like, she was like, what?
Yeah.
Like, it all came back to me.
Well,
when she was walking.
When we were watching, Susie asked me, or she said something like, I don't, she's so beautiful, like naturally beautiful. I don't think she's had any work done. And I was like, well, I actually don't know. Like, she very well could have, but either way, it's so naturally done. Yeah. Where, and that's where you run this very fine line of how do you hold back the hands of time, but do it in a way that still shows you and it doesn't change and all of a sudden you look a little different or...
Well, I always go back, and you know how, I mean, we both eat very similarly. We make our green juice and our green smoothies, and we eat really clean, whole foods, But
I get my wine in.
Well, yes.
Need my vitamins.
Well, Shelley, throughout the season, we've seen her eat super well. Like, she's always... I feel like health and what she puts into her body is very important. Whenever she goes over Vanassa's house and Vanassa's got all this like pastries and stuff, she's like, oh, you see her reaching for the berries and the grapes, and so I think she's just a really healthy person.
I think you're right. I think you're absolutely right. And, at the end of the day, my prediction, first of all, which we'll get into the top 5, I do think that she will win, but I think the reason that she will win and has done well in pageants in the past is because she seems so real. Yeah. Not only in the interview and how she was dressed and how she presented herself, but how she walks. She doesn't have this very contrived model walk. She's very natural. Her makeup application and hair was just simple and beautiful and just enhanced her features. It wasn't covering anything up or too thick or heavy.
And can we touch upon the tanning, the self-tanner? I feel like there's such a fine line with self-tanners. Some girls look orange, and I can't believe they're still doing that today because I know there's a lot of really amazing self-tanners out there that make you actually look tan, and they don't make you look orange.
I think the ones that make you look orange, honestly, are like the spray tan ones where you stand there like psh, like you're in a
I don't know if
car
it's the
factory
spray
getting
tanning
shellacked.
or if it's like the tanning beds, but I think girls need to chill out with the self tanning.
Yeah.
Just natural is the way to go, people. It really is.
And I gotta say, everybody looks better tan, and the reason is because it hides a lot of flaws. It hides a little cellulite and little things going on. So if a girl can be paler and look great, it almost takes her up to that next level.
Yeah. Seriously, you look different. You'll stand out.
But even when they did some of the questions with some of the girls, and we heard Shelley like kind of just laugh at herself talking about age, and as things like start to change as you get older, like she's just so natural and real and confident in who she is, and I think that's what always makes her stand out.
For sure. So yeah, and like I said, I think Shelley's gonna win the whole thing. We'll see next week what happens. But so they call out the top 5 after swimsuit, evening gown, and interview on stage. Lorianne and Shelley make it. 2 other girls make it, so there's one last spot. Who do you think is going to get it? I think it's going to be Vanassa.
I think it's going to be Suzanne.
You think?
I think
Susanna?
Susanna, I think, looked the best. Like, yeah, she had a lot of sparkles in her interview outfit, but I really liked that outfit.
Yeah.
You did mention, though, she's worn it quite a bit in this show.
During the interviews.
During the private interviews when she's just doing like the confessional, she's in that outfit, which
but
I know.
What I noticed is Vanassa, the blue dress that she wore for interview is also a dress she wears in the interviews for the show.
Oh.
I have a feeling that like the producer sat them down after the Legends of the Crown pageant, and that's the outfit that they did all of their interviews for. Because we've seen those 2 outfits like throughout other episodes as well.
That's a good point. I bet they did do that. And Vanassa just gave the most... the best interview in that outfit, so that's why we're seeing more of it.
Yeah, we've seen it a ton,
That's
right?
That's actually a very good point.
Week after week.
Well, I think that Susanna's styling is just pretty.
It's pretty. I wanted to see her hair back. Yeah, honestly, because her dress was it had so much going on. There was so much sparkle. And she wore her hair down the entire time, and her hair is so jet black, which is beautiful. But I would have loved to see like a really elegant bun or something.
So the reason that I think that she'll make top 5 as a judge, I thought in swimsuit she looked better than Vanassa and Lynne.
Okay, so you think the judges probably scored her higher?
Yes, and I thought in evening gown she looked better than Vanassa and Lynne.
Okay.
Because I thought Lynne was very, very sparkly. I thought Vanassa had a lot going on with the ruffles and the sparkle.
Yeah.
Yes, Susanna was very sparkly, but it was like sheer.
It suited her.
It suited her, and it was still like an elegant sparkly.
Yeah, and I like the one shoulder, or not the one shoulder. She had one sleeve.
One sleeve,
which was fun.
Asymmetric, but the only reason why I can see Vanassa doing well is because her husband is part owner of the building it's held in, and then she had the director. So it will be interesting.
Yeah, we'll see what happens.
It will be interesting.
So, predictions. Who do you think? Oh, here we go.
And now, your AFTERBUZZ TV.
Hey, that spooky music sounds like the house. This should have been playing during Lorianne's interview when she's talking about the spooky haunted house. Here's a couple of predictions. Number 1, I think that Vanassa will probably make top 5, although I think Susanna should.
Okay.
I think that in the season finale, which is next week, I think it's going to come to blows. It alluded a little bit. Leah confronting Lynne.
Yes.
And her like hyperventilating in the car, like, all right, like deep breaths, like I can do this. So...
You think they're going to go at it? I don't think they're going to go at it.
You don't?
Oh, no.
I don't mean physically. I don't mean like Rocky Balboa.
I was like, what?
Yeah. No weaves are getting torn out.
Oh, yeah, no.
I mean, Jerry Springer.
Yeah.
But I think, this whole time I've been hoping for this to be a huge mirror for Lynne.
Yeah.
For her to see her life and be like, there's some changes I need to make in my life. And maybe be a better friend, and how to step up to responsive, like when I hurt somebody's feelings, to apologize and recognize where I was wrong and to apologize and try to change that way.
Yeah.
So I think this might be a huge awakening. I don't know.
We'll see. It's going to be a really interesting
what do
final
you think
episode.
For next week? Who do you think is going to win? Top 5, you already said Vanassa?
Yeah, I think Vanassa is going to be the next one called for sure. And whether or not it has to do with her husband being part of one of Foxwoods or not, I don't know. You know, I mean, she knows the director. You know how those pageants, those smaller pageants are so, they say that like the directors talk to the judges more. I don't know. I don't want to speculate. I'm not familiar with the pageant, but I think she's going to be in the top 5. Yeah, and I don't see Lynne making it because she's just not on her game, because she can't be physically, you know, and mentally she's just all over the place because she's going through what she's going through.
She put that handicap in herself, because she kept saying, how can I do this with this weighing on my head, this restraining order looming over me?
Yeah.
She got in her own head.
She did. So I don't think she's going to make it for that reason. What's going to happen between her and Leha? That's a great question. I don't know why, but I have a feeling that they're going to like hug it out at the end.
What?
I think they are. I don't know why, but I have a strong sense that they're going to like go at it, and it's going to be super catty and crazy. And I think maybe Shelley or somebody's going to be like, ladies, for real? Like, this, are we really getting even deeper into this drama?
That would put a nice bow on the end of this season. It would tie it up in this pretty little package.
It would make me very happy.
If they want to, you know, lead more into possibly a season 2, like flip a table over, pull some Real Housewives on me. I will say this, one thing that I never noticed before until this episode, the intro shows this broken crown in pieces and it comes together and becomes one. And I was like, well, ain't that ironic? Because I feel like it should be the other way around. Because that crown seems to be broken into a lot of pieces.
Especially with this group.
Yes.
With this group. It's crazy. It's like, are we friends or are we not friends, ladies?
So let's actually hope that Susie's prediction comes true and that they do hug it out and all these little pieces come together and form this glorious, sparkly crown.
I will be praying.
And world peace.
Well, you guys, make sure and join us next week because hopefully, fingers crossed, we will have Lynne and Leha on. They'll be calling in because, of course, they're on the East Coast. We're on the West. So I really hope that they both. Guys, if you're watching, please join us next week, please.
And actually, if any of the other girls, I know we haven't reached out to you, but if any of the other girls from the show
everybody's
want
welcome
to call in, absolutely get in touch with us on Twitter.
Yes.
Pageantology 101 is our Twitter name, or on Facebook, Pageantology Shandi Susie.
That's right. And you can find me, my personal account on Twitter is at Susie Castillo.
And mine is at Shandi Finnessey.
Sweet. Well, thanks, guys, for watching. Make sure you tune in next week. We'll see you then. Ciao.
Peace out.
From executive producers Maria Menounos, Kevin Undergaro, Phil Svitek, and the entire AfterBuzz TV staff, we would like to thank you for listening to the AfterBuzz TV network. To watch or listen to other after shows and post comments or questions, be sure to visit AfterBuzzTV.com. I'm Sir Richard Wentworth, and this has been a presentation of AfterBuzz TV.
Buzz you later.
The views expressed herein are those of the hosts only and do not necessarily reflect the views of AfterBuzz TV or its owners or principals.
Thank you for watching AfterBuzz TV on YouTube. For more of your favorite after shows and interviews, subscribe to our channel here, and be sure to share your opinion on the episode in the comment section below here. We'd love to see what you guys are buzzing about. Thanks again. Buzz you later.